Hello, Hoosier fans, Hoosier haters, and everyone in between. This is the Crimson Coliseum podcast. And on today's episode, we're going to be discussing my new power rankings heading into week 9 of the 24 Big Ten season. So I've added some extra win delegations with the conference for some of the tiers. So just to help me and help you guys out to figure out like how like my projections for the rest of the season goes. So for not bowl contenders, I think these are teams that are going to get less than 5 wins the rest of the season. They're not going to make a bowl game. And I do have a two 4-win teams here, but looking at their schedule, I don't know. I don't know if they will make a bowl game. So let's just get into it. So to start off, number 18 Purdue. It's still there, 1-6, 0-4 in conference play. They're still 18 as last time. Offense is 14th, which is for 344.4 yards. And they're last in defense at 451.6 yards. The previous week, they lost against number 2 Oregon, 0-35. They got donutted. And this week, they're on a bye, which is much needed for them, especially with the rumors around their head coach and just coaching in general. And now they get to finally play in their stadium, which good for them. At number 17 is UCLA, 2-5, 1-4 in conference play. Still saying it's 17 because teams around them have won as well. 17th in offense at 302.1 yards, 15th in defense at 367.3 yards. They won at Rutgers 35-32, and they're also on a bye this week. And the first win in the Big Ten for UCLA, and it's all the way across country. Don't know how they did it, but it's at least they're able to get one, you know? They're able to get one win. At number 16 is Maryland, one of those 4-win teams, 4-3, 1-3 in conference play. Seventh in offense at 435.3, but 16th in defense at 364.7 with a squeaked out win against USC 29-28. And they're going to Minnesota for their next game. The reason why I don't think they're going to get 2 more wins the rest of this season is just simply put, I don't like they need 2 wins in their next 5 games at Minnesota, at Oregon, at home against Rutgers, at home against Iowa, at Penn State. They can get the Rutgers game. I think they can get Rutgers. I just don't know if they can get Minnesota or Iowa, especially since Maryland's on the road for the Minnesota game. But that's why I don't think they're gonna be able to get to just because their schedule is much tougher now than it was. Like they probably should have beaten Michigan State. If they would have beaten Michigan State, beating Northwestern, they'd be bowl eligible right now, and that's kind of what hurts with them. At number 15, right now I have Northwestern ahead of them. They're 3-5, 1-4 in conference play. They're down one for being 14th, last in offense at 286.8 yards, and 13th in defense at 350.1 yards after a loss against Wisconsin, 3-23. And this week they're at Iowa. I think their bowl chances are done. But right now, I just have them ahead because they beat Maryland last week. So I'm giving them the grace of that and seeing if they can bounce back against Iowa. But looking at their next games, they can beat Purdue, but then they've got at Iowa, at Purdue, Ohio State, at Michigan, at Illinois. I just don't think they're going to have it in them. Finish it out, and then finishing rounding out the non-bowl contenders is a team that I had a lot high hopes going into the season that have just floundered. It's Rutgers at number 14, 4-4, 1-4 in conference play, down from 12. Ninth in offense at 381.3 yards, 17th in defense at 385.3 yards. That loss gets UCLA 32-35, and this week they're at USC. And I don't know, dude. Like they're like, and that's going to be a Friday game. No, they're 4-3, not 4-4. But still, it's at you. So at USC, at home against Minnesota, at Maryland, at home against Illinois, at Michigan State. There can be a chance they can get a bowl game because that's a winnable schedule. But losing to UCLA, I got to knock them out of contention right now and see what they do against USC, where they're 14-point underdogs. So they could be 4-4 very soon, and the rest of the season gets very, very interesting for them because they need 2 wins in their next four. Because I don't think they can beat Minnesota. Because I think Minnesota's been really hot. Maryland's going to be hard. Illinois is going to be hard, and they need Michigan State. So heading into bowl contention, it's teams I think are going to finish with 5 to 7 wins. And yeah, there's a couple teams I think might get five in the not bowl contenders, but these are on the very edge of contending or not. Speaking of USC, that's who I have next. Uh, seventh in offense at 434 flat, and then 14th at defense at 361.1, and they're down 5 spots from being number 8. That loss at Maryland, 28-29, really the way they're going, right? The trajectory is not looking good. They're free falling, and they need this win against Rutgers at home to have a chance to be bowl eligible. Because I still think they can. They still have the talent. I don't think anyone disagrees with the talent, and I don't understand what's going on with them. They're on a 3-game losing streak right now, but they've got Rutgers at home, at Washington, Nebraska at home, at UCLA, Notre Dame at home, and then you get 3 of those wins. That's going to be very hard. They're going to be contenders right now, but if they lose to Rutgers, that's the end of it for them. They got that. This game's a must win, essentially. Michigan State is up 3 spots. Well, actually, up 1 spot. Not 3 spots, up 1 spot. Against Michigan State. 4-3, 2-2 in conference play. 11th in offense at 366.7, and 9th in defense at 323.1. An impressive win against Iowa at home, 32-20. And this week they're at Michigan, which is a very, very important game. And just looking at their future schedule, at Michigan, that's going to be hard. At Illinois is going to be difficult, but then Purdue and Rutgers at home. So if they're able to win those last 2 games, they could still squeak their way into 6-6. So and also Indiana too, which I don't know if they're going to win that one. Don't think so. Even if Rourke's not playing. Um, yeah, I think they could squeak their way into 6-6 right now. And then yeah, they're up 3 from 15. I don't know why I put them at their number's 14. They're 12. They're up 3 from being 15. Number 11 is Minnesota, 4-3, 2-2 in conference play. They're up 2 spots from being number 13. The 15th ranked offense at 318.9 yards, but the second best defense in the Big Ten at 262.3 yards. They were on a bye last week, and this week they are hosting Maryland, and they have some momentum on their side. I didn't trust this team so far, but now they're getting a hang of things after that Michigan game, beating USC and UCLA. They have a chance with 2 games after at home against Maryland, which I think they can win. At Rutgers is going to be difficult, and then they got at Illinois, at home against Penn State, and then at Wisconsin. So that's going to be a hard way to get to 6-6. But if they could sneak away a win like they did against USC, I think they have a shot. And then at number 10, falling down 1 spot is Nebraska. 5-2, 2-2 in conference play. 10th in offense at 378.3 yards, and 8th in defense at 304.3 yards. And just to show how much of a dominating game that was against Rutgers for Indiana, heading into the game, Nebraska was 6th in total defensive yards at 272.5, and now they're down to 8, which kind of crazy. It's just Indiana just dominated them 7-56, and there's not much there with that. Looking ahead to Nebraska's games, since we are getting close to the season ending, they only need 1 win to make a bowl game. but they're not going to get it now because they just got blown up by Indiana, and they're going to redeem their buy one get one blow up by a ranked team on the road gift card to to Ohio State. That's their next game. So if you have a Nebraska fan, tell them that you love them. It's been rough, but they've got UCLA after this. UCLA at USC, Wisconsin at home, then at Iowa. So they can get to 6 wins at least. So it's good for them. And then number 9 is Washington, 4-3, 2-2 in conference play, up 2 from number 11 because of teams falling around them. Fifth in offense at 452.7 and fifth in defense at 266.3. They had a bye last week, and this week they're at number 13 Indiana. And it's gonna be a very important game, especially with Curtis Rourke being out for Indiana. They have a chance to steal it. I don't think they will, but we'll talk about that tomorrow. But it's just what is it is because the issue I've seen recently with Washington is they cannot finish drives. They're if they're able to finish drives, they have a shot. But I don't know. Number 8 is Iowa, down 3 from number 5. 13th in offense at 346.9 yards, 8th in defense at 337.7 yards. Their last game was a loss at Iowa. At Michigan State. Why did I say at Iowa? 20-32. And can this team have some consistency, please? Like, I just want some consistency with this team. Crushed Illinois State at home, lost to Iowa State at home, beat Troy, beat Minnesota, crushed by Ohio State, beat Washington convincingly, then got crushed by Michigan State on the road. Like, we need consistency, and they're just not showing it. Maybe with Northwestern coming up and then Iowa, no, Wisconsin coming up. Northwestern, Wisconsin coming up at their next 2 games at home, and then at UCLA, they could create some consistency, but they need it. They can get 2 wins easily. They just, for a good chance to get a really good bowl game, they need that consistency. Then number 7 is Michigan, falling out of the rankings and staying at number 7 in mine. 4-3, 2-2 in conference play. 16th in offense at 308.6 yards and 10th in defense at 326.3 yards. Previous week they lost at number 22 Illinois 7-21, and this week they're against Michigan State. And I saw this joke. Illinois was they had throwback uniforms back to 1924. Michigan's offense is looking like they're in 1924 because there's just nothing there. And this game is a very important game for them as much as it is for Michigan State because they need a confidence booster. Because 4 wins, now they're not in a fantastic spot right now. They've got Oregon at home, Indiana on the road, Northwestern at home, and Ohio State. So, of their next 5 games, 3 of them are going to be against ranked opponents. So they need this win to get to a bowl game. And then the bowl favorites, who I think are teams that are going to get to 8 to 10 wins. I think the teams are going to get to 8 to 10 wins, just based on the trajectory they're going. So number 6 is Wisconsin, jumping up 4 spots from where they were at 10. 8th best offense at 406.6 yards, and the 6th best defense at 266.3 yards. Previous week they've crushed Northwestern 23-3, and this week they're at home against number 3 Penn State. And Wisconsin's been on a tear these past few weeks. 23-3 win against Northwestern, 42-7 win against Rutgers, 52-6 win against Purdue, and 2 of those have been on the road. So they've been killing it. Their next games are at Iowa, at home against number 1 Oregon, at Nebraska, at home against Minnesota. I think they get 3 wins. Iowa, Nebraska, Minnesota could be good wins for them. They just got number 3 and number 1 with them too. So that's going to be interesting. See what they do the rest of the season. But they've been on a tear right now. At number 5 is the first ranked team, number 20 Illinois, 6-1, 3-1 in conference play. They're up 1 from number 6, 9th best offense at 382 yards, and the 11th best defense at 346.8 yards. And a win against number 24 Michigan, 21-7. And this week they're at number 1 Oregon. And it's a good bounce back game. And they have 3 ranked wins, which is really good for Illinois, having 3 good ranked wins. and they're ranked 20, and then they're already in. They have a bowl game now. We get Minnesota at home, Michigan State at home, at Rutgers, at Northwestern. I think they can get two or three more wins in that sequence. But of the ranked wins, Kansas I think is 2-4 right now. 2-5. Nebraska is 5-2, so it's still a good win, especially on the road. That's a good win. And then Michigan, it's a good win to beat Michigan. So I think Illinois is a legit ranked team. I think they'll get 8 or 9 wins now, and we'll see what goes on from there. And then at number 4 is number 13 Indiana, 7-0, 4-0 conference play. The best offense in the Big Ten at 512.7 yards, and that's fifth in the entire country. The fourth best defense at 262.6 yards. And the previous week, they smoked Nebraska 56-7. And this week they're hosting Washington. Um, they were going against the best defense in the Big Ten at the time. Well, one of the best defenses in the Big Ten to one of the best offenses with Washington. Without Rourke, it's going to be a hard game, but I think they're able to pull it out with Taven. I trust if Cignetti has trust in Taven, I have trust in Taven. So that's how I feel about that. But now heading to playoff contenders, teams that can get 10, 11, or finish out the year undefeated. Number 3, Penn State is number 3, staying at number 3 from where they were before. Number 3, number 3, number 3. The third best number 3 again. Third best offense, 471.2 yards. The fourth best defense at 262.5 yards. They were in a bye last week, and this week they're at Wisconsin. In their schedule, it's going to be rough. But if they're able to keep doing what they're doing, so at Wisconsin, at home against Ohio State, at home against Washington, at Purdue, at Minnesota, at home against Maryland. If they can, well, it's not a difficult schedule. If they can get past these first two with wins, they can easily cruise the rest of the schedule and make the college football go to the Big Ten championship game. But if they lose against Ohio State, that makes things a little bit interesting. Because Penn State doesn't play Oregon. And if, say, Oregon loses, we'll talk about that schedule a little bit later. If Oregon loses one game, if they drop one, which I don't think they'll do, then Ohio State's going to be in because of tiebreakers. But what if Ohio State loses to Indiana though? It's getting interesting in the Big Ten. Yeah, I think Penn State's been really good. I think they're gonna be if they're able to just beat Wisconsin, and even if they lose to Ohio State and just win the rest of their games, they're in the college football playoff easily. And like it's the same thing goes with Indiana, but I've said earlier, if I need to see Indiana get to beat Michigan and be undefeated going in Ohio State before I can call them playoff contenders. Mainly because I've been hurt before and I don't want to jinx myself. And then at number 2, speaking of Ohio State, it's number 4 Ohio State, 5-1, 2-1 in conference play. Still number 2, and the reason why I've said it before, I said it last week, why I have Ohio State ahead of Penn State is because they probably should have won this game if a PI isn't if their freshman receiver doesn't push off on try to get a catch. If he's just able to get that catch normally and not push off, they probably win that game. But they lost. Disappointing. They're second in offense at 503 yards and the best defense at 251.3 yards. And yeah, Nebraska fans, I'm sorry, but you're going in with an upset and an angry Nebraska, an angry Ohio State. Good luck, my friends. It's going to be interesting. And then number 1, it's obviously still going to be number 1, but the number 1 in the country now, Oregon. I think it's the first team not in the SEC to be number 1 in the country in the AP poll. 7-0, 4-0 conference play. Still number 1. Fourth best offense at 464.8 and seventh best defense at 297.3 yards. And they beat Purdue 35-0. And this week they're hosting number 20 Illinois. Right now they're the top of the conference until they lose. I just want to look at that schedule one time real fast. Because that's going to be a good game. 20 versus 1, even though the spread is 21.5 in favor of Oregon. But At home at Michigan. At Michigan's going to be a hard game for them. At home against Maryland, at Wisconsin, at home against Washington to finish out the season. That's going to be a very interesting game because Michigan could beat anyone in Ann Arbor, in my opinion. Even no matter how bad they've been, they could beat anyone in Ann Arbor outside of Texas. But yeah, that's going to be my rankings. Tomorrow you'll see my predictions, and then Friday we'll be having we'll be talking about the Washington game. So that's all for today. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, share on all platforms, and I'm going to ask you, what do you think I really got wrong? Like, who should be higher, who should be lower?